What's up, everybody?
Sup.
The Nate and Herms show. We're here. We are live. We're a little late. I don't have my watch. It's charging upstairs. We're roughly 45 minutes late, but
give or take,
give or take. We were mostly here on time. We just started talking about things.
It happens to the best of us. I know if you've watched the show long enough, you've picked up on the dynamic that's going on here. I mean, it's pretty obvious. So, forgive us for getting a bit lost, but we're here with you now.
Yeah. Jimmy Parag's here with us. What's up, buddy? I promise you sent me a link on Facebook. You clipped something of Jen and I doing something on a YouTube show or something. Not totally sure what it is. I will check it out, though. Better late than never. I mean, I think we agree.
Yeah, facts.
We're just vibing. That's all. It's been a weird week for us football people. DaVante Adams, we knew it was coming. He's a New York Jet. We have got Amari Cooper. He's free of Deshaun Watson, free of that mess in Cleveland, now in Buffalo. Russell Wilson is starting. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a lot. It's hard. This is one of the more difficult seasons I can remember as far as injuries go. Wildly underperforming players, vastly overperforming players. The tight end position is a nightmare.
It's not great. It's getting better, though. It's getting a little bit better. I will say that, especially shout out to Jordan Love for giving us the beautiful gift that is Tucker Kraft.
Oh, man, right? Dude, like Luke Musgrave had to die for Tucker Kraft to live, but at the same time, I'm okay with the sacrifice, man.
Yeah, and the most fascinating part of it, I think, is that no matter which of the receivers around are healthy or not, you know what I mean? Because we've seen Dobbs, had to sit out a game because I think he had some little discipline thing. Watson's been hurt at times. Dontavian Wicks has had his own things. So no matter who has to step up around, the ball still travels to Kraft reliably. And I just think that really just underscores, for as much as we focus on which Packers receivers are we hyped about this week, the answer, if you're really looking for what that is, probably just Tucker Kraft, bro. He is the reliable, the most reliable second option, because all the other stuff is just constantly on a carousel around it, never deciding what's going to happen. So I don't know. That was a fun thing I decided to talk about for no reason.
Well, no. Okay. So Tucker Kraft in PPR right now per Fantasy Pros, tight end 5 on the season. So ahead of him right now, are you ready? As former Cole Kmet Chat Club members.
Oh, yes.
Cole Kmet Club rejoice. He is tight end 3. We've got Brock Bowers at 2 and George Kittle at 1. George Kittle has 3 20-plus point PPR performances. You can't stop the man. When he's healthy? No. And that's what's so scary about San Francisco, I think, for me, is that if they get Christian McCaffrey back, they could be 500. They'll still win the division. Get them into the playoffs with Christian McCaffrey. How do you stop this team defensively? They're going to have Ricky Pearsall as well, which a lot of people on Reddit especially don't care for my love of Ricky Pearsall, but they spent a first-round pick on him. In my opinion, he was the most talented route runner in the class. You don't think that Kyle Shanahan's going to find a way to use him? It's going to take a few weeks, but in Dynasty, you should have Ricky Pearsall if you can.
Yeah, I mean, I have a slightly different evaluation, but I think I would say, to your point, and I mean this with all the respect in the world to Mr. Jawan Jennings, if we look at what the contributions have been from him within, we know that this Kyle Shanahan offense is just the most simplistic yet incredibly effective scheme there is.
Right.
And what he's been able to put Jennings in a position to do in like time of need situations where others are hurt around him, Ricky Pearsall could probably do a lot of the same type things.
And
A lot
more.
better. And he's more, because he's more athletic. He's a little bit bigger. And like we watched him in Mobile. I don't think he is necessarily the sharpest in certain areas, but what I will say about him that I think is the strongest thing about him is that just his fearlessness and aggressiveness going up and grabbing balls, but like not to a point where he's just like stabbing at them and just like being errant and like
right
in the air. But he's just like, he's very quick about it and just bringing all those passes down and stuff. He's very sure-handed in that way. And that was one of the more impressive things I think we saw when they were doing some of those drills out there on the field. And that sort of like sure-handed, kind of like depth piece in that offense could be something that potentially comes in handy. It's just, it's going to take a while perhaps, but like we'll see. I don't think that your enthusiasm is unfounded by any means.
Like you said, Mobile, he made a big impact especially on me. Watching film of him before going to Mobile and watching him run routes and the way that he was cutting in college at Florida, nonetheless, he was playing an NFL game at the college level. And then he was beating some of the better cornerbacks in the draft, Max Melton and some of the other guys who were there on the majority of his routes. The big knock day one on him and Ladd McConkey was they couldn't beat press coverage day one of practice. But they worked on it with the coaches. And day two, what did they do? They were beating press coverage left and right. So we've seen Ladd McConkey already do it. He's a relevant fantasy receiver every week in an offense where we didn't think there was a pass catcher we could rely on. Quentin Johnson has popped here and there, but we're just straight up seeing McConkey get volume from Herbert. I feel like Pearsall is the same type of talent. And sure, Debo's there. We've got George Kittle. We've got Brandon Ayuk. We've got Juwan Jennings. We've got Kyle Juszczyk. We've got Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason, all of these guys, Guerrero, all of these people, or Isaac Guerendo, all of these other players. But at the end of the day, if Pearsall is as good as a lot of us think he is, and he's as clean and crisp and as good at learning the game, why wouldn't he get volume? I'm not saying he's going to be a viable start every week, but if you have a deep bench in redraft, why wouldn't you just grab him?
I mean, yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, I think you put that pretty well. And honestly, I'm just going to use this as an awkward segue to point out that our chat is like low key, kind of blowing up.
Oh no, it's going off. We're about to get there. We've already gotten to Jamie here, but we've got Toronto Dave. Double Gremlin Delight. What is up, my friend? We've got Nicholas. What is up, Nicholas? Sup, fellas? Thank you for tuning in. Jamie saying Nate is the only person I know that hates Deshaun Watson more than me. I used a trash can for his image when speaking about him in Start Sit last year. So, yeah, no, I don't like it. Nicholas, he picked up Kraft. That is very smart, sir. I love it. He says it was 3 weeks ago. He's got Pitt as well. I don't want to talk about Kyle Pitts. It hurts my heart.
Holding on to both, dude. I mean, I'd have to know what else is going on, but like if you have two of the best tight ends, like I would kind of encourage trying to keep both. So need a little bit more information on that to give a good answer.
Absolutely. Jamie saying he has a dynasty question. Please drop it in here. Nate Williams on Facebook, Herms. What is up, fellas? He says, we've got Abreu 68 on YouTube. He has a question for us. Buffalo defense versus Tennessee or the Chargers versus Arizona? Which way are you going here?
The Buffalo defense has been very favorable in all of the separate categories of DVOA metrics this year. Shout out FTN for picking up the slack where Football Outsiders failed us. At least we still have access to that information. And dude, Will Levis has thrown for more than 200 yards once this season. He is absolutely atrocious. His EPA per dropback is actually lower than Deshaun Watson. And hate to pick on him, but it's really low-hanging fruit. So, Bo Nix. If you're behind those two guys on this list, then you've got some I understand Arizona's offense has been a little bit inconsistent, but there is a massive chasm in talent between these two. It is.
Yeah. Yep. So Nicholas, trade all San Francisco guys when CMC comes back. It's going to go get rough for all players not named Kittle. How do you feel about that when CMC comes back? Debo, Juwan. I mean, I think Juwan Jennings is pretty much a dead value right now already. Brandon Ayuk. Obviously, Jordan Mason, useless for the most part.
Maybe. I only say maybe because, if they are still in a position to make the playoffs and do all this stuff by the time he comes back, preserve him a little bit. Have Mason run with him. Keep him fresh, so that way if you really do need to rely on Christian McCaffrey heavily, you can do so when it counts. Maybe that's kind of my thing, but I don't know. I think we talk about this all the time every year when it comes to this offense. There are a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and sometimes that means that one or two guys are going to get left out, but you invest in the highest scoring offenses because fantasy football is a game largely predicated on math. And the way that you end up seeing the math and go up and up and up and up is if you have just, a team that scores a lot.
Right.
It directly translates to the success of this.
Imagine that. Points translate to points.
Yeah. It's weird that there are that many good players there, but it's fine because they're good. So just do it.
Yeah. I want to point out this comment in the chat. Scott Rainier, what is up, my man? He has been a co-worker and good friend of the show and of Herms and I for quite some time, 4+ years. Nicholas says, go Buffalo D. So he's with us on that one, Herms. I would like to get to our first topic here. This is
we still haven't gotten to Jamie's dynasty question, though. He did drop it.
Did he drop it? Did he drop it in?
I want to make sure we do it for Jamie.
All right. Let me see if I can find it here. Looking through. Okay, he is 2-4 and needs to decide if I fight for a playoff spot or tank. I was offered Rashee Rice, Benson, and a 2025 first. It's going to be between picking 8 and 12 in Superflex for AJ Brown and DeAndre Swift. Nah, man. Don't do it.
Stay the course, man.
Stay the course. You're not done. At 2-4 this season, things have been so freaking weird.
You win 2 weeks in a row, you're 500, dude.
Yeah.
You can build from there. Just keep it going.
Yeah, 100%. Abreu 68 dropping in with another question here. Should Crafts is droppable for likely? I have Travis, Swift, and Kelsey. No.
I would just stick with what you got.
Yeah, nope, I am with you. Jamie says he'd rather we talk about his Deshaun Watson take. So we're going to go back to that real quick. Then we're going to move on here. Jamie says, makes me feel good that a guy that did all those awful things has to go out there every week and do one thing he's the worst at. At the end of the day, as a Browns fan, I can say confidently Watson is having less fun playing than I am watching. He looks uncomfortable when he's out there. And they ditched Amari. They're sticking with him. Kevin Stefanski looks like his soul is gone. And I think this team is tanking for a high draft pick.
He stinks. I don't like talking about him. I have nothing to say about him. But I will say the interesting thing, much more appropriate thing.
All right, let's go with that.
The interesting thing, not that it would have gotten me in trouble for anything, because I'm going to talk about Kevin Stefanski. The interesting thing is that if this were to result in some sort of firing or whatever, he's one of those guys that I feel like would get that treatment of you're not going to be unemployed for more than like 48 hours.
100%.
You know, like I understand that people can like look at his track record and like what he was able to do with Baker Mayfield, what he wasn't able to do with Baker Mayfield, and like kind of criticize him a little bit more heavily from there. But like I really like that offense and generally what it's supposed to be.
Right.
And I think that he can really take that somewhere else and thrive with it. So if this really does all go down and he's the fall guy and they get rid of Watson somehow and just eat the money, start anew, I would be more than happy if I were a team looking for a coach and he was an option.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Bad ownership is the issue in Cleveland. They made bad GM decisions repeatedly, and then they make bad personnel decisions over and over and over. You can't go through 4 offensive coordinators in 4 years and expect your offense to have any semblance of an NFL offense.
Yeah, you're throwing way too much information to people. Continuity is a very important thing. Like that's
one in a league where schemes are so complicated. Like, you have to have a base. Like you can change things year over year, but there has to be a base for a lot of these guys, or it's not going to work. A Brady 68 with another question, Herms. He wants to know, should he drop Jerome Ford, speaking of Cleveland, for one of Ty Chandler, Jerry Jeudy, or no, DeAndre Hopkins? Definitely not.
Ty Chandler good.
Ty Chandler. If Aaron Jones doesn't play, that dude's in for a lot of work, and he's been good when he is getting that work. Someone we're going to see get work this weekend, Herms, and neither one of us are happy about it. We're going to talk about it more when we get to Fantasy Festivus at the end of the show. Dangerous cooking in Pittsburgh. He's getting first team reps in practice. Sounds like he is probably going to start over Justin Fields, who has the team at 4-2.
Yeah, that's a choice. It's a choice.
It's a choice.
It's not a choice I agree with. I'll save some of those thoughts for later, as you said, because, you know, this is more about Russell Wilson than it is about the flip side of this. So, I mean, I look at it, the offensive line is terrible, mostly because they're just injured. I think it's a talented unit they put together at the beginning of the year, but then very few of them made it past the starting line, and now we're just in this, you know, kind of hellscape situation with blocking like we've been the last several years. I say we like I'm on the team. Screw it. I am on the team. Anyway.
We're Steelers, man.
Exactly. We are Steelers. So I'm It's like in Good Burger, like I'm a dude. He's a dude. She's a dude. Because we're all dudes. Hey, except it's the Steelers.
Hey.
So so that's what we're doing here. But so I think about that, and I think about the fact that Russell Wilson has never been somebody who's really just stood in the pocket and made his throws from there. At any point in his career, when he was younger and much more athletic, and even to, you know, the terrible times, you know, sorry you had to witness it out there in Denver, he has to, you know, kind of make his own way and create his own opportunities and just throw, you know, just these lobbing, you know, just hot air balloons up in the air just to like see what happens. And he's not going to be able to do that behind this line at this age. He's not going to be able to build a rapport with anybody particularly strong, because if you go in and just look at like the route participation rates for like just the entire Pittsburgh Steelers team, like Pickens, Van Jefferson, Freiermuth, all these guys are just tied around like 75%, like all this stuff. And I'm just like, dude, like some of these guys just have to be out there full time. Some of these guys just have to be heavily involved in this shit, and you just have to keep it going. And then I just have so many issues with how it's going to like take away a threat from the running game, because now you don't have that dimension.
Right.
But if he can stand in there and somehow just deliver the ball quickly out of shotgun, and that's the thing that they really felt like they were missing, fine. Yeah. But you better be sure that it works, because you're disrupting a lot of chemistry for a 4-2 team that very could have easily been 5-1 had it not been for, you know, couple choice decisions here and there, but
Sure.
I digress. It's just
Okay.
it's a lot, dude. It's loaded. It's
loaded because so George Pickens with Russ, if he can get out of his hand quick enough, I like him more in fantasy than I do with Justin Fields. Same for Pat Freiermuth. I think I have Muth at tight end 8 this week with Russell Wilson starting. But outside of that offensive line is bad, and Russ Wilson is old. And to be fair, he's 34, 35.
Sounds about right. One of those two.
Okay, so he's like 7 or 8 years younger than me. So old is relative, but an NFL quarterback, his style of play years, he is old. He can't continue to do what he does. He can't be a pocket passer in Pittsburgh because that offensive line isn't good enough. So if he can't get the ball out of his hand quickly, which we saw him have issues with that in Denver a handful of times, he's done. He's dead. Does Mike Tomlin already know this? And is that why? Is it a thing where it's like there was this big to-do about you guys signing Russell Wilson, so we've got to start him? If he plays well, great. If he plays like trash, we can bench him and go back to Justin Fields, who had us at 4-2. It's one game. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but this is the NFL and this is a business, and you're trying to keep a fan base happy. Yeah. And you signed a man to a contract and you want to give him a shot. Because, like, what if he goes out and throws for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns? I'm not saying that's likely.
I mean, I don't know. I think you're kind of onto something, though, in that we all know the whole Wally Pip thing.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson was supposed to be the starter. He got hurt.
Yeah.
He was named the starter. He got hurt, whatever.
Sure.
If this is just a Tomlin integrity move, he knows what's going to happen or whatever, but he still did whatever he had to do earnestly with whatever, like, level of integrity he feels like he has to live up to for some sort of weird, like, Rooney-ian, Steelers-ian reason. Then, like, fine.
Yeah.
It's just a weird way to rock the boat. I don't know. It's frustrating, but we also have a lot more time to talk about other aspects of it because, like, there's still the Fields part of it, man.
There's the Fields part of it because, I mean, our homie Laquan Jones, NFL Network, Good Morning Football, the NFL Network Fantasy Football Podcast with Marcus Grant and Michael Florio. He made a point to me where Justin Fields has actually fumbled 6 times this year. He's only thrown 1 interception. They haven't lost any of the fumbles, but he's dropped the ball. Fair enough. But with Russell Wilson, he's not nearly as mobile as Justin Fields. How many times is Russell Wilson going to fumble the ball? Or take a really bad sack for like an 8-yard loss? We saw it in Denver where he would run and run because that line was not good last year. They lost McGlinchey and it was over for that team. It blew everything up. You can't lose your left tackle. And we saw it happen. And it's bad news.
Not good.
It's not good. So if Russell Wilson can't survive behind this line, everything we're talking about is moot. He's not going to be starting next week.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, from a football standpoint,
it's entirely possible, man.
It's entirely possible. What's also entirely possible is we have more questions in the chat. So we're going to get to a few of those before we move on to our next topic. My favorite, we've got a Twitch comment, Herms, and I love this. Blanco J123. We've seen you in here before, man. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Glad to be here. Do you guys do trade advice? We absolutely do. Drop it in here.
I'm a big fan.
We love trades. Trading makes fantasy fun, as our friend Josh Fuster likes to say. We've got Jamie Parag says, asking for a friend, sell Flowers or Addison for a 2025 second.
Flowers for Addison in a 25 second. I mean, dude. Yeah, honestly, probably. Because I mean, like, Flowers gets like a ton of targets, and like that is very tantalizing. But then I kind of remember, they typically don't go very far. So, yeah, I mean, sure, why not? especially if the
Yep.
pick's going to be high enough. Like, whatever, you're good.
Yeah, man, go for it. We've got Glenn Brock over on YouTube. Herms tuning in. He's asking, is Russell Wilson starting or not? I think we kind of answered that question with our last segment. He's taking first team reps all week. It would be really strange if he didn't start. But of course, anything's possible. But he also wants to know who to start: Drake May versus the Jaguars or Wilson.
I'm going to go ahead and pull up this stat real quick because I think it just really highlights exactly why I'm so adamant that Drake May is my answer. So, okay, scrolling down all the way, shout out again, FTN, for housing the wonderful DVOA stats. Used to be,
Yes.
home of Football Outsiders, Aaron Schatz, just wonderful people. Like, really, it's a great way to be able to view the game. The Jaguars ranked dead last in pass DVOA at 48.6%. The next worst team, the Carolina Panthers, 29.1. So when I say the Jaguars are the worst, they are the worst.
The worst.
By like a lot.
It's egregious.
Yeah, like Drake May going out there in that situation against a very stout Houston defense, still taking a ton of sacks, taking a ton of hits, still turning the ball over, but managing to lead the team in rushing yards, and then going out there on top of that with 3 passing touchdowns. Dude, Drake May, like, I wrote about it, in my rankings article this week, and was talking about, we've seen Caleb Williams turn it on. People are really excited. We obviously know a lot about what we got in Jaden Daniels. It's really exciting.
Right.
These rookies, they're tantalizing. This week, we're going to start talking about Drake May that way because, like, dude, like, it's going to work so well. That connection with Pop Douglas was looking nice. Like, I really think this is going to work. I really do.
So
at least for this game. I can't say full year, but, like, at least for this game.
Sure. Against Jacksonville, I've got Drake May at QB 12, which is only 4 spots ahead of consensus right now on Fantasy Pros, which I'm a part of. We both are a part of. Hey,
that's
now.
True. I've got him at 15. I'm a little nervous, but I'm trying to be as bullish as possible.
I know our intro song is Lamar, but we started at the bottom. Now we're here. But anyway, yeah, right. Okay, so to my point about Pop Douglas, and I should point out these are half PPR rankings. I'm pulling them up. I've got Demario Douglas at wide receiver 37, but that is going to change.
I've got him at 35 currently.
Yep.
I've got him sandwiched between Jackson Smith and Jigba, and below him Darnell Mooney, just for some sort of context.
So here's what's fun. Well, if this helps people, I've got him above or 1 spot below Darnell Mooney and 1 spot above Josh Downs, 2 above Ladd McConkey.
Okay, so I think we're about in the same ballpark, generally speaking. I mean, I'm a little lower on McConkey.
That doesn't shock me, though.
I'm not super trustworthy. I don't know. They don't always throw the ball a lot. Like, their pass rate is not. I don't know. That's a separate argument. But yeah, either way, dude, there's reason to be bullish on this. I wish I was a little bit more bullish on Hunter Henry. I just don't know.
I want to be
so bad.
He started out hot, man. Like, he was the wide receiver 1 in that offense, but now it's Demario Douglas. And with Drake May starting and seeing how he focused on him in high value target situations, I've got Hunter Henry at tight end. It's not good, man. So not good. I can't find him. I want Hunter Henry to be awesome. Everyone does. But New England's a shit show, to be fair. We've got Nicholas on YouTube, Herms. He says, good shit. Hey, like mine, just said the same word. Is this a weekly segment every Wednesday? It is. The time is anywhere from 11 to midnight Eastern. We're having fun with it. We have got Glenn Brock saying We're out here. We're out here every Wednesday. Wouldn't miss it for the world. We've got Glenn Brock saying, hit the like, guys. Brock, we appreciate that, and we would appreciate it if you guys hit the like. Hollywood Titan, I wish it was a baller shot caller. Brother, you are. You know you are. Jamie says, it doesn't matter who the Steelers start at quarterback if Arthur Smith is a dumbass and not starting Roman Wilson. Can we talk about that for a quick second here?
I was going to say I've got some thoughts on that. It's frustrating, but I'll let you go.
Well, it's frustrating, right?
Yeah,
we saw firsthand a couple of things, and
yes,
from a character standpoint, we saw who this kid is. In person.
His little interview huddle, like he was really nice.
He was but he was so dedicated to fantasy football that he was flying from island to island in Hawaii so he could go to a school that had a football program, because his island didn't have a high school that had a football program.
Yeah.
He was getting up at like 3 a.m. every day to go to school. Plus he was talented. He was in the Jim Harbaugh offense at Michigan. He did work. He did work in stressful situations. He was a high value target for McCarthy, which we haven't talked about in months. I guess I don't understand. You made a point on, I don't remember if it was on Twitter or somewhere else, about why you feel like they're not using Wilson.
I mean, yeah, we did talk about this recently, and it's just, I get that he had been working his way back from an injury. So like being like a little cautious with him, I completely support. But there have been like weird little comments that like Mike Tomlin will make when asked about it. And he's just like, well, he knows what he has to do to step up and earn more opportunity. And I'm like, look, I understand. Like I've been rooting for this team my whole life. I can read between the Pittsburghian lines of everything. I speak Pittsburghese. It's fine. I speak Yinzer. I know what's going on. Like,
yeah, right.
They're just being stubborn about it because they don't want to immediately reward some young yuppie walking in doing whatever. But the fact of the matter is, like, you whiffed on Brandon Ayuk. Not really your fault. The power was in his hands anyway. You whiffed on DaVante Adams. Well, the power was more in his hands. It's whatever anyway. But like, still, like, they're not on your team. It technically counts as a whiff. Kind of reductive way to describe it, but
sure.
Still.
Poor negotiating.
And, yeah, perhaps. Who knows what the circumstances are, but you lose out on those things. And then, like, your biggest addition to the receiver room this offseason, after actively trading away Deontay Johnson, was drafting this kid because he's good. And, because even when we were at the Senior Bowl, like, somebody that we both know in the biz, we were talking to them and he had, told us that, the Steelers were already super interested just after the first day. Like it seemed like that connection was, pretty evident from there. So that's why it's weird to me. Like now that he's healthy, he's your second best receiver.
Put him out there.
Do it.
He is their second. You really think Calvin Austin is better than Roman Wilson?
No.
Nobody does.
No one does.
Nobody does.
Maybe Calvin Austin does, but good for him. He should believe in himself. But that's about it.
We've got to stop talking about the Steelers for a minute. We're going to move on to the chat here real quick. Michael O'Brien. Well, just Michael Bryan. My quarterbacks are Hurts, Stroud, Fields, and Darnold. He needs wide receiver depth, though. He has Metcalf, Ayuk, Deontay, and Juju. Which QBs would you release to make a waiver wire pickup? I think Fields has to be the one here since he's the one who's not starting.
Fields probably. I mean, I hate it. And like we were talking about,
I hate it too.
For him to get the job back potentially, but like as of this very moment, he's probably not a starting quarterback. So
yeah,
that's what you do.
It hurts my heart, man. Nicholas in the chat here wants to know, I want to trade Ayuk. What are some low RB2 flex running backs I should be asking for? Someone like Gibbs, or am I asking for too much? Full PPR. So interestingly, I love Jahmyr Gibbs a lot. But David Montgomery has been so undeniably freaking good. I don't think that that's asking too much. I think you could do Ayuk for Gibbs. I think you could get more. No, you don't think so?
No, Gibbs hasn't really. No, not Gibbs. Shit, I almost really misspoke. Ayuk has not really taken off yet this year. You're selling based off of some sort of speculative future uptick, and I think that's going to be really difficult for people to palate, with the immediate production that Jahmyr Gibbs gives you now. But I'll let you finish your thought before I get to mine. I just wanted to.
I'm just saying. No, I would. If you can get Ayuk straight up for Gibbs, or you can move Ayuk straight up for Gibbs, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah, if you can.
Yeah, I just don't think. I think there's going to have to be an Ayuk and to get Gibbs at this point, because like you're saying, he's really, yeah.
Yeah, no, almost certainly. I just want to give a quick shout out to my homeboy Alex Korth, former coworker of mine over there at Draft Sharks.
Yes.
He puts together just like the best, like most well-researched trade charts to the point where
does.
I'm just going to default to his perspective. In the ballpark of Brandon Ayuk right now, a little bit above asking price, but still a reasonably fair deal, would be DaVante Achane or David Montgomery per this chart. And a little bit lower, but still slightly relative value, Tony Pollard or like a James Cook. That seems to be where Alex is comfortable doing it, or as we call him out in the streets, Trade Daddy. So if Trade Daddy says that's good, then I'm just going to go with what Trade Daddy says. I think those are probably the type of guys you should be looking at.
Yeah, and go follow Alex at Peakton High School FF.
Yeah, dude, he's the best.
Phenomenal guy. The Frogs over there on YouTube wants to know, would you start May over AR5? Yes. 100%. Our favorite fantasy cat, Mr. Scampers. What's up, buddy? It's good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it, my friend. Adam over on YouTube, trade T for DK. No. Probably not. I wouldn't do it.
For me, that's just like trading a Sprite for a Dr. Pepper. I'll drink both. I don't really have firm. To be complete, like, I hate giving a non-answer, but it is truthfully how I feel about it. Like,
that's not a non-answer.
If it brings variety to your life, if you want the Sprite, if you want the Dr. Pepper, pick whatever is going to taste better. But they're both good sodas.
Look, I like Dr. Pepper better than Sprite, and it's a very it's mood dependent, right?
Yeah.
Tea is my Dr. Pepper right now, so I wouldn't make that move. Yeah. Jamie Prague wants to know, y'all know the Jags allow the fourth most points to wide receivers, so why no discount Josh Allen with May? I think wide receiver QB 12 is pretty generous for a rookie in his second start, Jamie.
Yeah, maybe he was talking about me having him at 15, but again, for the same reasons, he's a rookie in his second start. The optics of it are great. Like, I'm very bought into the potential of it, but at the same time, you have to hedge a little bit.
There's the reality of the fact that, well, it's like we hedged our bets on Jaden Daniels, and it was like 50-50. You're like, yeah, he's really, really good, but how good is he going to be in Washington with Dan Quinn and what appears to be a limited set of skill players? Well, it turns out he's an MVP candidate. Hollywood saying, late night fantasy talk, I freaking love it. So do we. It's freaking great to be here. Michael Bryan wants to know, Demario Douglas, Christian Watson, or Josh Downs. So I'm going to say this right now just to get this out of the way for all future questions. If Anthony Richardson is starting in Indianapolis, Josh Downs has minimal to no fantasy value. He might have a spike game, maybe. But Alec Pierce is almost the only startable wide receiver in that offense, unless something changes over the next couple of weeks.
No, I still think he can be a top 36-ish guy. I still think he can be a flex guy. Like, I think he's a wide receiver too with Flacco. And I understand that AR is all over the place with just, I don't know, everything. I was going to come up with more specific examples, but then I was like, no, it's about everything. So let's just say. But, it's not like Downs is, running particularly like long routes or whatever. He's not the most high ADOT player in the world. Like, you can get a guy like Anthony Richardson just to kind of like dump off into, intermediate areas. You can teach him to do that. He's going to have to do that at some point. And Josh Downs is probably the best receiver on the team who's not named Michael Pittman Jr. So, like, that really does help a lot. Like,
I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah. So I just have a little bit more faith in Richardson. Maybe. I get that it's bad, but like.
So when I look at Anthony Richardson, I see so much of Joe Milton in him as far as skill set, except that Anthony Richardson has more touch, which is why I like Alec Pierce, because you literally can throw the ball up in the air in his general direction. Alec Pierce is going to look back, track the ball, find it, and either catch it or at least get his hands on it. Those are the guys who are going to do well, I feel like, with Anthony Richardson, or at least the ones who have proven to do well. Jamie Parag, I'd rather have Gibbs than Ayuk. Same.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of the point we made here. Brad Bolt, what's going on, fellas? From all the way down under. Homeboy, you're like 15 hours ahead of us. You are living in tomorrow, and we love it. We have Marlon dropping into the chat. He wants to know if he messed up. He has Chase, Godwin, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Josh Jacobs, and Brock Bowers for CeeDee Lamb. Wow. Okay, hold on. I saw so many names.
Oh, boy.
Wow, he gave away Chase, Godwin, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Josh Jacobs. In return, he got Brock Bowers, CeeDee Lamb, Saquon, DaVante Smith, Ayuk, and Sam Laporta. Wow.
Hate to say it, but sorry, buddy.
Yeah, I'm never going to be a fan of the side with more players coming in. Unless you have a bunch of vacant spots. This is a dynasty trade. Maybe if it's a dynasty trade, but still probably no.
Even then, so here's a point about Laporta that I'd really like to highlight.
Yep.
So the last couple of games they played, mind you, week 4 and week 6, for those who forgot they had a bye in week 5, he's done a little bit better, but his route participation is still only 59.3%, and his target share is still at 10.9%, tied with Tim Patrick in that span. What really loses it for me is the fact that you have given up Brock Bowers putting up just lights out numbers, doing the most in the world. And I'm not sure if Laporta is going to quite be the same as he was last year. Jameson Williams serves a very different function, but he still does get a lot of first read targets. That is something that really went to Laporta a lot last year that is not working out so much this year. So that's why it's really worth highlighting there. Yeah, dude, that downgrade at the tight end just really irks me. Like, you could make arguments for it, because what is it? Anytime you see big trades, you just break it down piece by piece, you cross off whatever kind of makes sense, and then you just kind of look at it from whatever whittled down way you can. And the way I whittle it down is down to the tight end, and I'm just like, bro, Brock Bowers might be just like Gronk. So,
right? Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's all right though. We all make mistakes. We all make bad trades.
It's also not like the worst mistake in the world. You got really good players. Like,
okay, that isn't going to it's not going to completely screw your team. I'll say that at least. You can still be completely okay. We have got Night Gang dropping in. Flowers for Addison in a late 2025 second. Who wins the trade?
Where have we heard this?
Well, we have got Soren dropping in. Are there any running backs worth trading Debo and Hurts for? I have Tyreek, DK, Amari, Olave, and Love. I mean, the running back landscape.
I mean, it depends, like redraft or dynasty. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Like those
We're
are kind
assuming.
of different
Let's
answers.
assume we're going to assume redraft here.
Okay.
Derek, can you get Derrick Henry?
I'm just gonna go back to Trade Daddy's charts. I think that's what I'm defaulting to. So, all right, here we go. Devo. I mean, you could shoot for a Josh Jacobs. Could probably do something like that. I think that would be fine if you want to combine the two. You could probably shoot all the way up for like a Ken Walker, Jahmyr Gibbs, something like that. You know, I think that'd be fair.
You don't think you can go higher than that?
I think that's pretty high.
I mean, it's not bad.
I mean, we're talking within the top 10. Like you're getting
That's a fair point.
Stuff out of that.
Fair point.
So, you know.
Fair point. We've got Mr. Scampers asking half PPR's got to start 2 this week. Zach Charbonnet against Atlanta, Sean Tucker against Baltimore, Blake Corum against Las Vegas, Antonio Gibson against Jacksonville and London Town. I'm going to immediately strike out Blake Corum from this list. His upside is like 8 points max, unless Kyron Williams gets hurt. I'm going to say Charbonnet and Tucker, because I don't see Gibson being higher than RB30. I think Tucker could pop into like the mid to low 20s.
Weren't you saying before we started that Stevenson didn't practice?
Yes, but it doesn't matter. Stevenson didn't play last week. Antonio Gibson had 13 carries for 19 yards.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like the Jacksonville defense, their run defense is also not very good either. So, like, you know, it's closer to league average, but still not like good. So, I mean, that's kind of the only reason. Like, I'd follow the injury reports because if it really is going to be Gibson again, then and especially like
it's more than likely.
Cops, you know,
I know, and we keep talking about. Okay, so here's why how I am about Antonio Gibson. Because every time he gets this opportunity, we're like, well, yeah, he's going to blow up. And I've done the same thing, and he never does. I don't see it. I think they find other ways to generate offense.
Plus, they have JaMychal Hasty, so, you know.
Right, your boy.
100%. Yeah, love you, JaMychal, if you're out there watching.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just an Antonio Gibson hater. Mist over there on YouTube wants to know, start Pop Douglas over Pickens with the new Russ look. Yeah, you're still doing that. On the trade question here, Nicholas says trade is overkill. Keep it to 2 or 3 players at most. I am going to tend to agree with that. It gets too complicated, cluster clogging, and weird unless there's a clear directive with it. Mr. Scampers agrees. Whittle it down, see what you can get done here. Jamie Prague, I'm sitting A-Rich and Russ Fields in my super flex for BTJ and Deontay Johnson with the matchups. That's bold, but how do you feel about it, Herms?
YOLO. Truly. I've been doing this in Superflex. I'm not always playing 2 quarterbacks, man. I really think people have overthought it. You know, like that's too many people treat it like 2 QB because unless you have like 2 of the best dudes, man, you don't have to do that. Yeah. I lean with it a little bit more toward Deontay, but like, yeah, still, bro. Like,
sure. Okay, so we have an emergency here. Marlon heard our advice. He's still listening. He says, hey, guys, and what if I cancel it and do Chase, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Godwin, and Josh Jacobs for CD, Saquon, and DaVante Smith?
Ooh. I believe they added that the trade has processed.
Like, I still have a chance to cancel the trade. It hasn't processed. We missed you by 2 minutes, man, and I'm so sorry.
Here's the thing. Like we were saying before, dude, like your team didn't get like that much worse. Like it's fine.
No.
Like honestly, like our reaction to it was mostly just based off of the fact that, like, you know, I mean, we have to have something specific to talk about with it. And I think the disparity between those 2 players we talked about is big. But like other than that, dude, like you're fine. Like it's not, you're good.
Oh, wait, no. Has not processed.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Okay, all right. We're back. We're back, Marlon. We're back. Okay, right. So hey guys. Okay, so we're going Chase.
It's the trade without the tight ends. Basically.
Okay, Chase. I mean,
It's a little too much. I think you could probably do it without giving away Jacobs.
so further comment here. Still have a chance to see if the commission's open to vetoing it. Okay, at that point, I think we're going to consider it a done trade. We're nerds. We're going to break down trades to the millimeters of value. At the end of the day, it's really not that bad of a trade.
Yeah,
you can still survive. Yeah, it's not going to kill your team. So, we've got some more here, specifically Lad McConkey or Jameson Williams from Master God 3 over there on YouTube.
I'm big on JMO. He's really important to that offense.
I am on JMO as well. Let's get to Eric Stevens here. He wants to know, are we playing Purdy or Mahomes? Oh. So I've got Purdy at QB 8. I've got Mahomes all the way back at QB 20. So my answer is Purdy.
I've got Purdy at 11, Mahomes at probably a little too high at 13. I may change that, but yeah, I'm going Purdy as well.
Yep. Now, with the trade news, Herms, we have something just to hear a little different. DaVante Adams. I mean, we kind of knew it was coming. Back with Aaron Rodgers. Best friends. It's almost like reuniting Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly from Step Brothers in a sequel, which we all would love. DaVante Adams doesn't have an offense to learn. He already knows it. He played in it for years in Green Bay. Is this a game changer for Aaron Rodgers' fantasy value? How do you feel about DaVante Adams, and where are we sitting on Garrett Wilson and Allen Lazard?
I mean, in terms of how it's going to affect Aaron Rodgers, I think he becomes like a streamable quarterback every week. I don't know that it brings him into the top 12 discussion because they're still going to run the ball a lot. I mean, even with Todd Downing taking over as offensive coordinator, the last job he had was in Tennessee. We got a pretty good feel for what he did over those 2 seasons. He's really a very run-heavy guy. You have Breece Hall for that reason. You do all that stuff for that reason. But I think the biggest impact it's going to have is Allen Lazard, kind of the way that we treated him in Green Bay back in the day, where if one of the 2 top receivers was hurt and then he elevates, you're like, okay, pick him up off the wire. Let's go. Like, we're kind of just going back to that level with Allen Lazard, because what's probably going to happen is we're just going to see a co-alpha competition between Adams and Wilson. Like, I think this hurts Wilson, but it only hurts him slightly. Like, he was by far, almost by a margin of double digits, the most targeted player in the NFL. So he loses from that standpoint. But the fact that there are just 2 extremely good route runners that can go out and confuse defenses and do all that stuff, like, it's going to be beneficial for everybody. The ecosystem just got so much more healthy. Like, the only real loser here is Lazard. Everybody else, either kind of stays the same-ish or elevates to a usable level.
Yep. Okay, so Marlon's dropping back in. He says he still can cancel the trade. Would you cancel it if you could? Non-veto, just cancel it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to withdraw the offer, I mean, I've done that before. Sometimes I'll send an offer, change my mind, withdraw it if it's in the middle of the night, like whatever. Like, there's
we've
no
all
law against this,
No, just withdraw it. Eric H in the chat wants to know, what running back would you trade and who would you try for? Kamara, Barkley. He has Kamara. He has Barkley, Kamara, Dobbins, and Aaron Jones, but he needs a wide receiver. His wide receivers are Amon-Ra, Amari Cooper, Mooney, and Addison. Who would you try to trade for? So this is a really tough question to answer without seeing your league or knowing your league dynamics. Giving what you have and what you can actually move. I mean, Dobbins and Jones are really the only two out of there I'm moving.
You
Cooper,
can't really even move Jones now, though, dude. You know,
no, you can't because he's hurt.
Yeah, with how hurt he is, I really think I agree with you on the Dobbins thing.
You can move Dobbins, but realistically, who are you going to move Dobbins for at this point?
Back to trade, Daddy. Let's see. I still got it pulled
Let's
up.
see.
I'm not.
While we're waiting for that here, Marlon dropping in saying, thanks a lot for the advice. I'll be back. Have a good night. Marlon, thank you so much. Guys, while you were here and while Herms is checking this out, and I'll bring it back up, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are live 5 days a week, and you can find us on Reddit every Sunday from 11 a.m. Eastern up until kickoff, answering all your start sits. We get about 1,000 questions, so we get to as many as we can. Most of the time, we get to all of them. Herms, where are you at, buddy?
There is a block of about 6 receivers that are within the general range on the chart. I'll just highlight the ones that I think are most interesting because Puka Nacua is still hurt, and as long as Tua Tagovailoa is out, Jalen Waddle's a bit of a mystery. So broadly, Chris Olave, I know he's a little bit banged up too, but hey, I don't think it's going to cause him to miss too many games. George Pickens, you know what the concern is. Jameson Williams, and then Brian Thomas Jr. is relatively within that J.K. Dobbins tier. I agree with that assessment. I'm not a slave to the chart per se. Like, if I don't agree with something, I'll definitely say it. But like all that within that makes sense to me. I think you could realistically do that.
No, I think you can too. And I'm 100% with it. Glenn Brock dropping back in here. Is there enough on the bone to make Kamani Vidal a flex this week for the Chargers and their run-first offense? Gus Edwards still out. I think you're praying for a couple of catches with Vidal as long as Dobbins is healthy. As much as I love him, if you're looking for a boom play, like you're wrestling between like 5 to 7 point projection guys, and you've got Vidal. I'd throw him into the flex if you need a boom. Otherwise, I don't think I'm willing to start him.
Yeah, I mean, he's somebody that I think definitely needs to be rostered. It's important to have, because not only is Gus Edwards still out, but Gus Edwards is on IR. I mean, like that's, kind of the more important, kind of.
It's not short term.
Yeah, so like this is definitely like he has an opportunity for a month to be able to do this. But my only trepidation is the fact that Vidal played on a 24% snap share. I mean, that first touch that was the catch for the touchdown was awesome, but he's still a little bit part-timey, which is why I don't want to trust him in my lineup for this. I tend to be fairly risk-averse when it comes to situations like this. If this is the week that he goes off and gets trusted with more, then like kudos, great. But playing 24% of the snaps in your debut is just something where I'm just like, I mean, how much does he really get up to at that point then? Maybe 35, something.
Right.
So I want to see it, but he definitely deserves to be on your roster, which it sounds like it is, and I think that you made a really great choice by picking him up. We loved him at the Senior Bowl. Loved him.
But to your point, and just so all of our viewers and listeners can understand here, when you're talking about that 24% snap share, that was 19 snaps. So,
yeah,
there's some work to do, but Vidal's talented. He's going to find a role in this offense. We just don't exactly know when. Dylan Fink tuning in here. Thursday Night Football starter sit. Bub Means, full PPR. He needs to start 2 wide receivers and 2 flex. He has Lamino Dunze on bye. All of his options, Drake London, Cortland Sutton, Xavier Legette, Bub Means, Khalil Shakir, Rashad Bateman, and Ray Davis if Cook sits. So I'm going to say, first of all, you're starting Ray Davis if James Cook sits. Dude got the volume and the yardage that you wanted to see out of him. Then I'm probably going Drake London. Ooh, this is hard. Xavier Legette, and then I'm going to take a flyer on Bub Means. They just don't really have anybody else.
I
And he
mean,
got
yeah.
volume last week.
I mean,
So
Rashid Shaheed already got ruled out. I'm not entirely sure Olave is going to play
Olave,
at this point.
he's been ruled out.
Okay, so yeah, London,
Mm-hmm.
London, Shakir, Bub, and then yeah, dude, if Ray Davis, if James Cook sits again, bro, like that's viable. Talk about another guy we really liked at the Senior Bowl. Hey, underrated pass
Love
catcher,
Ray
dude.
Davis.
Very underrated, very sure-handed guy for being as big as he is. I think that doesn't get appreciated enough. It's a very good aspect of his skill set.
Yes. As I explained to Jen when I got home from the Senior Bowl, shit, who are the impactful guys? Like, well, there's this dude, Ray Davis, out of wherever he's out of, Kentucky. He's like a 5'8" bowling ball. And if that, I've got 2.5, 3 inches on him, height wise. If he was running at me, I would run very far away from the spot that I was standing. That's why there was something about his fierceness and his tiny little, that center of gravity. We've seen it with some other guys, like
1,000%. He is
where they're built tight and they can withstand the hits with their small size, but then they can also slip through the holes, find the seams, blah blah blah. Ray Davis, yeah,
exceptional athlete.
Yep. All right. Fantasy Festivus. Herms. I'm upset by some things. I'm upset by one thing. I think you're upset by the same thing. I think we're about to go off on the same thing.
Probably. But for viewers, I'll be right back. But I can still hear you. I can still hear everything. So
yeah, no, this is great. So to be fair, I am an old school Broncos fan. But I picked up the Steelers when I was like 8 or 9. They brought a bunch of CU guys in. Cordell Stewart, Charles Johnson, Ronnie Bradford, who was a safety. So I have been a pretty hardcore Steelers fan for a while, a long portion of my life. They're 4-2. This is a team that has been 500 for quite a while now. It's just kind of how we live our life as fans. Justin Fields has been such a massive break from the norm of what this team has been in the past. He's mobile. He makes it exciting. He's not making a ton of mistakes. One interception. He's got some fumbles. But the team's winning. And it seems like they're having fun for the first time. Why are you benching him? What sense does it make? I just don't get it. You're winning. Why would you change the team chemistry and the team dynamic? You stick with the guy who's got you at 4-2. You brought Russell Wilson on a $2 million contract. I just don't understand it. I understand for fantasy, it's good for guys like George Pickens, like we talked about earlier, Pat Freiermuth. But man, I just want to keep seeing Justin Fields play. This is the best season he's had, right? So I don't. It's just one of those things. As a fan, you're just like, what is happening? And we, as Steelers fans, dude, we love Mike Tomlin in this house. We love Mike Tomlin in this house. Real quick, I want to get to this. Nicholas wants to know if we do this weekly. We do this weekly.
Every single week, yes.
Every single week. We're live 5 times a week on this channel, so make sure you subscribe. And then before we keep going off, want to get to Tef here in the YouTube chat. Choose 2 to start: Cooper Kupp, Deontay Johnson, or J.K. Dobbins. How do we feel about Cooper Kupp this week?
I have him ranked, assuming he's going to play, and I have him at number 10. So, I mean, I also have Deontay within my top 20. So, I mean, for as much as I love J.K. Dobbins and the whole story of it and everything, and Arizona is actually a pretty decent matchup too. But they're, kind of closer to league average in terms of run defense. They're much worse against the pass. I would probably just go with the 2 receivers.
Yeah, I've got Cooper at 6. So Jesse wants to know which three should I start between these four: London, Smith, Dell, and Juju. Juju is a must start. I think we'll just go with the bench here. It's going to be Dell for me.
I've got Juju ranked lowest. I mean, I understand, like, role-wise, makes a lot of sense. But one of the interesting things I found out when I was digging into it, Juju only ran about a third of his routes from the slot. He didn't, like, fully adopt that kind of Rashee Rice responsibility, kind of leading, but I'm nitpicking. Like, I'm nitpicking, but it's only because you named three other really good receivers.
Sure.
Like, I wouldn't even be bothered because, like, in most start-sit questions people are going to have where you bring up Juju, I'm going to be very encouraging of Juju. But, like, Tank Dale had an absurdly high route participation and target share now that Nico Collins is out of the lineup. Nobody's happy about it, but it's good news for Tank Dell. He's absolutely killing it. He's the dude there. And then, actually, you know what? Maybe this is spicy. Assuming we're talking about DaVante Smith, I'm a little skeptical about the Eagles' offense. What would you say if it was just starting London, Dell, and Juju?
I wouldn't hate that. I've got DaVante Smith at wide receiver 22, and these are a living, breathing thing until roughly 12:55 p.m. on Sunday morning. So I wouldn't hate that. Jamie Prague, he wants to know if I was a Broncos fan, they were beating the Browns from 86 to 89. Fun fact, Jamie, I have highlights of all of those games from NFL Films: the Ernest Biner fumble, the Mark Jackson touchdown in the end zone, the Rich Carlos field goal to win it. I have got all those on VHS. Nicholas wants to know Cooper Kupp or Jordan Addison. Cooper Kupp.
Cooper. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Cooper Kupp. Herms. We're always going to be Steelers fans, right?
Well, terrible things would have to happen for me to change my mind on it at this point. I didn't really have much of a choice. I mean, both my parents are from Western Pennsylvania. You know, like I'm not, but they are. So hey, guess what? Guess what football team for? So yeah, I'm kind of, you know, I drank entirely too much of the black and yellow Kool-Aid. I can't get out of this now. I'm trapped. Please help. But yeah, like you hit on a lot of really good points though, and I think kind of
I'm going to say it.
Saying
this is as much as we love this franchise and we love the Steelers and we'll go to bat for them and root for them and just feel absolute pain for them. This is the first time this offense has actually really been fun in a long time.
Yes. Dude, they have not had a offensive coordinator since Bruce Arians in the Super Bowl times. Everybody since then has just been a disaster.
Yeah. We've got some more questions popping in here. We've got 3P1C Fail asking, better pick up Whittington or Bub Means. It's Means. Whittington's value was never like fully there, but then it kind of died with the return of Kupp, in my opinion. The Smitty on YouTube, start 2, Ramondre, Mason, Algier, Mostert, Javonte Williams. I'm going to immediately say no Ramondre. He did not practice today. It is not sounding like he's going to actually play. Jordan Mason, we got some weird news on from San Francisco today. Some news, non-news. I'm wondering if he's going to play. I would go Algier and Javonte Williams here.
Assuming they are healthy, I will say Mason and Javonte Williams. Assuming that Ramondre and Mason are out, or no, assuming they're no, I stand by my statement. Okay, assuming Mason's out, then I will go with Algier and Javonte Williams. The Falcons matchup this week is very tantalizing for both him and Bijan. So I'm here for it.
The Smitty said, assuming they all play, we covered all bases for you. It's what we do here at Optimus. Jamie Parag has all of those games on DVD. He is a sadist. man, that is brutal. Eric H saying, thanks again. Would you start Amari Cooper over Addison or Mooney? Not this week. I wouldn't do it this week. He has a full playbook to learn, man. Long term, I love Amari Cooper long term. Give him a couple weeks to learn the playbook. It's not that he won't be fantasy viable, but I'm not starting him over Addison or Mooney.
Remember when he went from Oakland to Dallas and just...
Oh, man.
He's that good.
He is that
He's
good.
that good. Like, that's
where do you have him in your wide receiver rankings?
Let's go. Let's see. Let's see if I can find the thing and use my eyes properly. 31. I have him at 31. I have him.
Oh,
admittedly, I actually do have him behind Addison, but they're in the same tier. So
I have him at 31 as well.
Hey, look at that. Yeah. So I mean, it's, you know, I was about to say I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth, but that's not how tiers work. So
no,
like, yeah, I mean, they're in the same tier for me, but like, you know, if it really comes down to it, I only have him dinged to be like slightly for the concern that you brought up. It's baked into the, you know, the process a little bit.
If I'm not dinging him, I've got Amari Cooper inside the top 20 in Buffalo.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And when he really gets rolling, he's inside the top 10.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of, I guess I'm just buying into it, you know?
Yeah. We got Marcus Soto in the chat saying, how do you do, Marcus? First of all, adorable avatar. Kids are the best. I have a 7-year-old. Greatest thing that's ever happened. Herms, he keeps asking when you're coming back out.
For what?
Oh, to hang out.
Oh, ASAP Ferg, hopefully soon. It's just a matter of well, you know how our schedules are during the season.
I mean, we talk every day.
Football has to be over first. Like, you know, that's
right. Yeah. This fun game that we play has to come to an end. Speaking of coming to an end, the show has come to an end. I want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart who tuned in. You are why we do this, and you help us continue to do this. We have more to do tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. I will be live with the Casey Kasem for the flagship podcast. We're going to go through start sits, Thursday Night Football preview. We're going to have some post waivers and some bold predictions for you. And then Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, myself and my boy Mike Reedy are going to drop all the DFS main slate plays that we love on DFS Live, followed by the Q&A live at 6 p.m. Eastern on Friday. That show gets insane, guys. We had probably around 700 or 800 questions over about an hour and a half last week. So get in early, get those questions in. We're going to answer as many as we can. Keith Fleming from Fantasy and Frames is our guest this week. And then Sunday, of course, at 11 a.m. Eastern, we will be on Reddit with our Start Sit AMA. We are going to get to as many questions as we can. We've got 4 of us answering this week. So hop on over r/fantasy football. They're at 3.2 million, man.
Oh, that rules, dude. Shout out Fantasy Reddit, man. It's a really cool
seriously
community for sure. Check it out if you haven't been there before.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's a rabid community. If you need help, you will get all of the answers you need. And while you're here, please make sure you like this video and subscribe to the Optimus channel. 5 shows a week. We cover waiver wire, DFS, the fun that Herms and I have here every single Wednesday night. We've got our live Q&A, and we're going to have even more coming. The channel is rolling. Go to optimusfantasy.com. Tons of content coming out. We have got rankings and it's all the fun stuff. It's all the fun stuff.
Yeah, 100% of the fun stuff. We did not skimp even a fraction of a percentage.
No. One more time before we get out of here, guys, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Check out my homeboy Herms on Twitter at CHHerbs. He's got stuff dropping from 33rd team and brilliant dynasty content at Fantasy Points. It's so brilliant. Adam Harstead likes it. Check it out, guys. Check it out. For Herms, I am Nate Polvogt. This is Optimus Fantasy. I'll see all you guys tomorrow with Casey Kasem at 3 p.m. Eastern. Adios.